Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the 2011 independent Canadian horror comedy Monster Brawl. The film is set in an abandoned and cursed graveyard where eight monsters gather to take part in a no holds barred fight to the death combat tournament. The monsters include a zombie, a vampire, Frankenstein's monster, a werewolf, and so on. The tournament is basically a simple elimination structure, literally, since if you lose, you're dead. The monsters are separated into two classes, creatures and undead, and the heavyweight champions of each class will face off in the grand final, the victor of which will receive a title belt and, I guess, accolades, notoriety, something. This whole affair is being broadcast in a pay-per-view type atmosphere with all the theatrics of professional wrestling. There's a couple of bickering commentators. Each match has a referee to enforce the nebulously defined rules. I mean, really, how do you define what's legal in a death match where one of the fighters can literally melt another fighter's face? Several of the fighters have managers who interfere with the matches to help them, and so on. The film follows the events of this tournament, which grows steadily more and more out of control as it proceeds. We already know that most of the competitors will die, but by the time of the final, it's an open question as to whether anyone will walk out alive or functional, since guess some of these things are dead already, but survive at all. The film was written, directed, and produced by Jesse Thomas Cook, an independent Canadian filmmaker who focuses on horror films. This is a low budget affair, but Mr. Cook obviously has some contacts in the entertainment industry. He's managed to loop in Lance Henriksen to do narration for the picture, for instance. Though, to be honest, by 2011, low budget direct to DVD horror film was basically 90% of Henriksen's work. Cook also landed several former WWE performers for his cast. The biggest name is probably former world champion Kevin Nash, aka Diesel, but there's also Robert Maye, aka Kurgan, plus a post credits cameo from Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Now, I can't tell you how Cook funded the film's 200,000 Canadian dollar budget or whether the investment paid off financially, but that's fine. The more important question for this video is it worth spending your time to watch it? And the answer, alas, is most emphatically no. This is a film that fails in a number of major ways. Let's talk about three of them. Now, it's certainly possible to make a successful film based on the concept of a fighting tournament. Whatever you think of the individual movies, producers have seen success with films like Bloodsport, or to stretch it a little bit more, Karate Kid, which resolves itself through a tournament. Now, a key difference between those films and this one, though, is that the writers of those movies recognized the need for a central character whom the audience could support. Daniel's quest to defend himself from his bullies and ultimately face him at the martial arts tournament in Karate Kid, for instance. There's a story there for the audience to buy into, someone that they can want to see succeed. Similarly, at the end of the day, in professional wrestling, all the theatre that goes on, talking smack on the microphone, sneak attacks backstage, cheating in matches, and so forth, exists for one reason and one reason only: to make the audience want to see that guy beat that other guy, or that woman beat that other woman. You don't get 60,000 fans all screaming yes for Daniel Bryan's 2014 WrestleMania win unless you first made people care about seeing Daniel Bryan win. Now, this movie doesn't give the audience a reason to care about these competitors and who wins their bouts. While it does do little background vignettes for each fighter, those vignettes plus their fights are literally all we see of them. There's no follow through on the nebulous motivations each is described in their introductions, and no real payoff to them either. And on the subject of nebulous motivations, there's the question of why would anyone participate in this tournament? Definitionally, most of the participants will die. That seems like something where you need a pretty big incentive to take part. A title belt and some notoriety really don't seem like they'd cut it. Then there's the added fact that, again, as defined by the film's own narrative, only heavyweight competitors can win the belt. So why are the four lightweight competitors even showing up? There's no prize at all on the line for them, and a 50-50 chance they're going to end up dead. Again, those little vignettes the competitors get are supposed to answer that question, but they frankly don't do anywhere near enough. I'm here to prove myself. Might do for a non-lethal tournament. It's a lot less convincing when the cost of failure is so high and so final. Now, again, you can do successful stories centered on lethal tournaments. The first of the Hunger Games books does exactly that, but it also gives us Katniss Everdeen as a main character. She's someone to cheer for, and she has a convincing and sympathetic reason for taking part to save the life of her younger sister. The Hunger Games is a far from flawless franchise, but author Suzanne Collins at least got those fundamentals right. This film misses on both. The stakes don't match the motivations do not live up to the stakes. There's nobody really to care about, and then there's also not a lot of laughs. So back in 1998, there was a TV show called Celebrity Deathmatch. Each half-hour episode featured three matches in which stop-motion animation versions of famous people would engage in a battle to the death. The first episode featured Mariah Carey versus Jim Carrey, for instance, and ends when Mariah uses a high note to literally explode Jim's head. Now, I mention this show because its anarchic, over the top blood and guts bouts were very like the superpowered monster mash encounters we see here. The difference being, Celebrity Deathmatch remembered it was supposed to be funny. It lampooned the stars it was depicting by exaggerating their reputed personalities. It had them exchange in over the top smack talk and pull off ridiculous feats, such as the one Mariah uses to kill Jim. And it structured every match to more or less end on a, appropriately enough, punchline. Monster Brawl, on the other hand, just offers up five plodding pro wrestling matches by people in mediocre makeup and seems to assume that if it plays up the supernatural nature of its competitors and throws plenty of fake blood around, that'll be funny, and I'm afraid it's not. The basic concept of a supernatural SmackDown could make for a fun film, but this movie misses the mark in almost every particular. Don't waste your time. Next time, in 1964, 3 years after the smash success of his historical epic El Cid, producer Samuel Bronstein sought to repeat that triumph with The Fall of the Roman Empire. It did not work out at all like he'd hoped. But that's next time. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've seen Monster Brawl, let me know what you thought of it.